Okay, so recently Powder and a couple of other VTubers have been getting a lot of backlash over one particular situation. I never really thought that this would be the kind of situation that would happen, but essentially, there was a recent tweet that has gone out, and a lot of people have been paying attention to it, which is talking about Powder and her opinion on abortion, which obviously is a very big topic. It's very, what do you call it, a heavily debated topic among people. Obviously, some people believe that you shouldn't do abortion or anything like that, and of course it's like they have like different opinions about when a child is considered like a being or whatever, and again, there's also a lot of people who are very pro-abortion as well, who obviously believe that the woman should have the right to choose what happens, right? But of course, yeah, it seems like Powder has come out and actually said about her opinion on stream, and some people are not so happy about it, and it's caught the attention of a lot of people in the space, right? And even Powder responded to this post here by saying, yeah, I don't shy away from that opinion. I've spoken openly with my community about it a few times. I think abortion should be an option for people to have. I don't like the idea of abortions, of conceiving, where people have sex, get pregnant, and then abort the baby without a second thought. On the other end, if you have to choose between life of the baby and life of the mother, I don't see why the baby should always come first. There's issues with our dating culture that probably leads to more abortions. Not a fan of that either. So essentially, she's saying that she does, kind of support it, but she doesn't, support so much the kind of dating culture right now, where people just use it as an option, right? Like they're constantly just like getting babies aborted and things like that because they're too lazy to go and get like protection or anything like that, right? Which I think is fair enough. I think that, of course, I think the dating kind of culture and things like that is pretty terrible whenever people do decide to do that, right? They essentially use abortions as like an option of like, almost like, what do you call it? I forgot oh my God, I forgot the name for it. But they just use an extra option, right? They use it as an option, and it it's pretty terrible, especially with how often some people do that, right? Now, of course, they actually respond by saying, "Thank you for being honest, and not walking back on what you said. But I do think you should do a bit more research on the horrors of abortion." And then Powder says, I'm fully aware of how an abortion is performed and how disturbing the process can be, as well as the psychological impact it can have on some women. That doesn't change my view. I don't think abortion should be the first option, but I do think it should be an option, which, yeah, I mean, she's saying that, it doesn't necessarily have to be the first option that you take, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be like the one that everybody should just go to. There should be some more things put in place before that. But as like a kind of, not even a final option, but you get what I mean, right? Like as a last kind of thing, it should be there. That's what see Powder kind of saying. It should be an option. She says, you're catching some heat on this, but even as someone who's like 95% pro-life, there are cases where you can be able to make exceptions. For example, some disgusting blank, some Somali blank elf girl. On what planet would it be moral or right to make her have that kid? Which obviously, yeah, she puts a thumbs up there, right? And of course, there's been a lot more as well, saying Yuki Waru is also pro-abortion in her own words, because she also commented on this post by saying, preach, I am pro-abortion too, without a doubt. Obviously, she's been blowing up quite a bit recently too. And obviously people saying, was not expecting that. I think I need some more sleep. Which again, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not like entirely surprising. I know lots of people have very different opinions on this kind of stuff. And it's one of those things where, yes, although that, Powder and pretty much most of these people in the conversation might agree with other things, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to agree, 100% with everything else that you believe in too, right? And I think that goes the same for like literally anybody. I feel like everybody has differing opinions, even if it is like, on one particular topic, for example, like this. Or if it's on a different topic, right? I feel like nobody's ever going to have that 100% match, really. Maybe there's like one person out there, right? But I feel like, of course, I don't think like the average person is going to have 100% the same views as you do, even if you do believe in similar stuff, but maybe you just disagree on one of those topics or whatever. And I don't think that should be like the end of, you like liking them or anything like that, right? But I feel like it should be, one of those differences that maybe you have and different opinions that you have, and you can kind of like respect that, despite obviously not agreeing with each other on that, right? Of course, as well, Powder did end up, well, obviously, first of all, Yukiwara did respond saying, yep, just kind of backing up her point there, and saying, Powder saying, this is starting to come across as malicious, concern trolling, especially when the reason you give is, I'm just letting people know who they're supporting, something smells off about you, which, again, yeah, it seems like obviously a lot of these posts are very, targeted. It seems like, they are definitely trying to, call out a lot of these people about this, right? And obviously, yeah, she's saying like kind of something smells off. And then said, I figured that would be the narrative you tried to spin. That isn't the case, though. I made my intentions clear. People should know who they're following and what they actually stand for. And it goes on by saying, I full stop don't agree with abortions for disability or SA, not the fault of the child. But what are you trying to get at with these posts? And they say awareness. Most of us were not aware that she had said this. So is the Church of England and the Church of Scotland. Said okay. Saying sure. What are you doing? So yeah, a lot of people were confused. A lot of people saying, are you just doing this to kind of like start some drama or something like that, right? Which obviously a lot of people see it as. And of course, yeah, that was the post from thingy. And then of course they continue on by saying, this is why it's important to not blindly follow/boost people. Make sure the person is genuinely someone that you want to promote, not just grifting off of a topic. I didn't know Yuki would out herself, but I'm glad she did. Which again, I don't know if it's necessarily grifting. I feel like it's just having an opinion. I don't know if it's like, just because you have one opinion that maybe doesn't line up with your entire kind of, thing. I don't know if that necessarily means that you're grifting. It just means that you have a nuanced opinion about, a certain topic within, things, right? I feel like you can still, agree with a lot of other people based on other things, but, maybe just disagree on that one topic, right? I feel like that doesn't mean you're necessarily grifting over that. But again, obviously, that's what they believe, right? People saying, how is that grifting? Because she said her opinion out loud. Are you going through some shit right now? Are you being retarded on purpose? Saying, I get that you're salty and I disagreed with Powder, but it's probably in your best interest to stop lapdogging for this one. Which again, I don't know. I feel like it's just not really, I don't know. I don't think it is necessarily grifting per se. Honestly, I'm more happy that they can be honest with their opinions about things and that they are not grifting, right? Because grifting would be, of course, her saying, oh no guys, I didn't mean it. I am actually pro-life and all of this kind of stuff. That would be grifting because, she clearly doesn't, as we know now, doesn't believe in that, right? That would be grifting, I feel like. But of course, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. Again, it's one of those things where I think it is a, it's a tough topic for a lot of people. A lot of people get very, heated over it and have very different opinions. Some people have lots of nuanced opinions, especially with the whole abortion topic. Some people, believe like a certain, time in life, that, it's okay to do it, or some people believe that not at all, and some people believe right from conception. It's literally like it's a huge, varied belief kind of not belief system, belief kind of scale. That there is a lot of people that are on very different sides, and you can see there's even some people in the comments, for example, saying like, they don't agree with pro-abortion or anything like that, but they can see in some cases and things like that, right? And that just goes to show you how different the opinions are on this and how different people think, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think it's exactly the worst thing in the world, right? I think that, of course, Powder has her opinion on it, and if you don't agree with that, that's totally fine, right? If you don't, if you're pro-life and whatever, fine, right? But if you're pro-abortion too, fine. It doesn't really matter, right? It doesn't matter what someone else thinks. If you think that she's right, or if you think that she's wrong, that's fine, right? You can totally believe your own thing. And again, I think that's all that matters within this situation. And if anything, as I said, I'm glad that Powder and a lot of the other VTubers are sharing their own opinions, right? Because I would much rather them share their own opinions than share an opinion that is made up or done for money or something like that, right? Because of course, there's a lot of that. As we talked about the term grifting, they're doing the opposite of that. They're showing their true opinion, which I think is a good thing, right? So yeah, I mean, of course, it's probably going to be a pretty heated topic, but that's it at the end of the day, right? But yeah, that's about all I got for this video though. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also go to GameStop, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.